At my sister's wedding, I was told to stand near the wall so I wouldn't ruin the family photos. My seat, taken by her fiancé's family's +1. I walked up to the gift table, took back my envelope, and said, "Don't worry. I'll stay out of the frame forever." Then she came running as I walked. I, 32M, never thought my sister's wedding would be the day I finally cut ties with my family forever. The morning started like any other wedding day. I'd driven 3 hours to get to the venue, wearing the expensive suit I'd bought specifically for this occasion. My gift envelope contained a check for $5,000, money I'd saved for months, skipping dinners out and canceling my vacation plans. Sarah was my only sister, and despite our complicated relationship, I wanted her day to be perfect. The venue was stunning. Rolling hills, white tents, flowers everywhere. I arrived early to help with last-minute preparations, just like I always did for family events. Mom was running around with her usual pre-event anxiety, and Dad was trying to calm everyone down while secretly stressing about the timeline. When I walked into the main tent to check the seating arrangements, I found my name card at table 12, the very back corner, partially hidden behind a decorative pillar. Meanwhile, the front tables were filled with people I'd never seen before. I asked Mom about it, and she explained that Sarah had to make room for her fiancé's extended family and their +1s. Fair enough, I thought. It's her day. But then the photographer arrived for the family photos, and everything changed. Sarah approached me with that fake smile she'd perfected over the years. She told me the photographer wanted to keep the family photos clean and elegant, and my presence might throw off the aesthetic they were going for. She suggested I stand near the wall during the formal shots, maybe help with crowd control instead. I stood there processing what she'd just said. This wasn't about logistics or space. This was about how I looked. I'd struggled with my weight my entire life, and while I'd made significant progress over the past year, I was still heavier than the rest of my family. Sarah was making it clear that I didn't fit the image she wanted for her perfect wedding photos. The worst part was how casually she said it, like asking me to grab more napkins from storage. She patted my arm and walked away before I could respond, leaving me standing there feeling like I'd been punched in the stomach. I watched as they arranged the family for photos. Parents, grandparents, cousins, even family friends I barely knew. Everyone except me. I stood against the wall like furniture, holding my phone and pretending to be busy while the photographer captured what would become the official record of our family. When the ceremony began, I discovered that my seat had been given to someone's +1, a stranger who introduced herself as the maid of honor's college roommate. The usher apologetically explained that there had been a last-minute change, and could I please find somewhere else to sit? The only available spots were folding chairs they'd set up in the very back, behind all the actual guests. I sat in that folding chair, watching my sister get married while surrounded by people who meant more to her than I did. The irony wasn't lost on me. I'd been the one who helped her through her messy breakup 2 years ago, listening to her cry over the phone for hours. I'd been the one who drove her to look at wedding venues when her friends were too busy. I'd been the one who offered to pay for the flowers when their budget got tight. But apparently, I wasn't the one who deserved to be in her wedding photos or sit with the family during her ceremony. After the ceremony, during cocktail hour, I found myself standing alone while everyone else mingled. A few relatives made polite conversation, but I could see them glancing around for someone more interesting to talk to. I was the family member people felt obligated to acknowledge but didn't actually want to spend time with. That's when I made my decision. I walked over to the gift table, a beautiful display covered in white linen and surrounded by flowers. Dozens of envelopes and wrapped boxes were arranged carefully, representing thousands of dollars in wedding gifts. I found my envelope, the thick one with Sarah's name written in my careful handwriting. I picked it up and slipped it into my jacket pocket. Sarah was across the tent, laughing with her bridesmaids and posing for more photos. I walked over to where she stood, waited for a break in the conversation, and told her not to worry about me ruining any more photos. I said I'd make sure to stay out of the frame forever. The look on her face was priceless. Confusion, then realization, then panic. She asked what I meant, and I explained that I was leaving. I told her I hoped she had a wonderful marriage and a perfect life with her perfect photos. I turned and started walking toward the exit. That's when she came running after me. She caught up with me in the parking lot, her dress trailing in the gravel, her carefully styled hair starting to come undone. She was crying, asking me to please come back, saying we could work this out. She insisted that I was overreacting, that the photo thing wasn't personal, that she loved me and wanted me there. I told her that love wasn't about wanting someone there. Love was about making sure they felt wanted. Love was about saving them a real seat, not a folding chair in the back. Love was about including them in family photos, not hiding them behind walls. She kept apologizing, promising to fix everything, begging me to come back inside. She said the photographer could take more photos with me in them. She said she'd have someone give up their seat so I could sit with the family. But it was too late for fixes. The damage was done, and we both knew it. I handed her the envelope and told her this was her wedding gift, the gift of never having to worry about me ruining her perfect moments again. I said I was done being the family member people tolerated instead of celebrated. She stood there in her wedding dress, crying in a parking lot, as I got in my car and drove away. Update 1. The fallout was immediate and intense. My phone started buzzing before I even made it home. Mom called first, then Dad, then various aunts and uncles who'd heard what happened. Everyone had an opinion about my dramatic exit. Mom was furious, saying I'd ruined Sarah's wedding day and embarrassed the entire family. She insisted that I was being oversensitive and that Sarah never meant to hurt my feelings. Dad was more measured but still disappointed, suggesting that I should have handled things differently and talked to Sarah privately instead of making a scene. The family group chat, which I'd been part of for years, suddenly went quiet whenever I posted anything. I could see that people were still active in it, but my messages went unanswered. It was like I'd become invisible. Sarah texted me the next day, a long message about how sorry she was and how she never intended to make me feel excluded. She explained that wedding planning was stressful and she'd made mistakes, but she hoped we could move past this. She wanted to meet for coffee to talk things through. I didn't respond. 3 days later, she called. I let it go to voicemail. In her message, she sounded different, less apologetic, more frustrated. She said she'd try to make things right, but I was being stubborn and unreasonable. She pointed out that she'd apologized multiple times and didn't understand what more I wanted from her. That voicemail told me everything I needed to know. She still didn't get it. Update 2. 2 weeks after the wedding, I received a package in the mail. It was a framed photo from Sarah's wedding, one of the family shots I hadn't been included in. There was a note attached saying she thought I might want a copy anyway. I stared at that photo for a long time. Everyone looked so happy and perfect. The composition was flawless, just like Sarah had wanted. And I realized that this was exactly how my family saw me, as someone who belonged on the outside looking in. I threw the photo away. A month later, I ran into my cousin at the grocery store. We'd always been close growing up, but she seemed uncomfortable when she saw me. She asked how I was doing and mentioned that the family missed me at recent gatherings. When I asked if she thought I'd overreacted at the wedding, she hesitated before saying that maybe I could have handled it better, but she understood why I was hurt. That hesitation told me everything. Even the family members who sympathized with me thought I was wrong for standing up for myself. I started declining invitations to family events. Birthday parties, holiday dinners, graduation celebrations. I politely said I couldn't make it. At first, people tried to convince me to come. Then they stopped asking. Update 3. 6 months after the wedding, I moved to a different city for a new job opportunity. I didn't tell anyone in my family until after I'd already relocated. The distance made it easier to maintain the boundaries I'd established. Sarah got pregnant a few months later. Mom called to tell me the news and suggested that becoming an uncle might be a good opportunity to reconnect with my sister. She said Sarah had been asking about me and wanted to share this milestone with her brother. I congratulated Mom on becoming a grandmother and ended the call. When the baby was born, I sent a gift card to Sarah's address with no note attached. It felt like the appropriate level of acknowledgement, polite but distant. A year later, I received a wedding invitation in the mail. My cousin was getting married, and apparently, the family had decided to include me despite our estrangement. I RSVP'd that I wouldn't be attending and wished them well. Mom called after receiving my response. She was crying, saying that the family felt incomplete without me and that everyone missed having me around. She begged me to reconsider, to find a way to forgive Sarah and come back to the family. I told her that I hadn't left the family. They'd made it clear I didn't really belong in the first place. I was just accepting their decision and making it official. The conversation ended with both of us in tears. Final update. It's been 2 years since Sarah's wedding, and I've built a new life in my new city. I have friends who invite me to things because they want me there, not because they feel obligated. I found a community where I'm valued for who I am, not tolerated despite who I am. I still think about my family sometimes. I wonder if Sarah's marriage is happy, if her child is healthy, if my parents are doing well. But I don't wonder enough to reach out. Recently, I received a message from Sarah on social media. She'd seen some photos I'd posted from a work event and commented on how happy I looked. She said she'd been thinking about me and hoped we could talk sometime. I read the message several times before deleting it without responding. Some people might think I'm being petty or holding a grudge. They might say that family is family and that I should forgive and move on. But they weren't the ones standing against that wall, watching their family pose for photos without them. They weren't the ones sitting in a folding chair at the back while strangers took their seat. I learned something important that day. Respect isn't something you can demand or apologize your way back into. It's something you either give freely or you don't give at all. My family made their choice about my place in their lives. I simply made mine about their place in mine. The gift I took back that day wasn't just $5,000. It was my self-respect. And that's one gift I'll never give away again.